All right. This is Landon, and you're listening to 28, or as American speaking people say, episode 28.
Welcome to the Bachelor podcast, a show about everything but nothing at the same time. Two guys that took jobs away from their families and living the Bachelor lifestyle.
Hey, how you doing, Dwayne?
I'm good, man. How's it going down there? You staying dry?
Oh yeah. I could tell that it rained a little bit, but for the most part, it hasn't rained. I did go a little bit fishing, which we'll get into a little later, but overall, it's fairly good. I mean, it's nice short weather wearing outfit, or I don't know how to say that right. I
Well,
don't
first
speak
of all, you're
English.
saying I don't know you're saying an outfit, so you got a whole ensemble going on down there,
Oh,
or
oh no,
I'm sure.
I brought down some hoodies, and now I'm just in t-shirt and shorts most days, even in the morning. So it's great. I like it. A little too cold to
Yeah.
run
No,
for me.
no. I've been running in some super cold weather, but it's funny when you're kind of living that style. Your bags get a lot lighter this time of year when you're packing up and moving out every week.
Yeah. Well, the tricky part is I'm getting ready to permanently live in my camper for 3 weeks straight, though. So my bags are actually not getting lighter right now. But
3 weeks straight. What do you got going on?
well, we're selling our other house, and we got about a 3 week window where I guess my dad's going to be geo-batching with me and in his camper, and then the wife is going to be living in a camper with the kids and going to a different school. So, yeah, we're going to be homeless for 3 weeks.
Well, I wouldn't say homeless. You'll just be without a permanent residence
Yeah.
because you have places to stay.
Oh yeah, we have places to stay. But with everything going on, hotels are the easiest, especially for that short span. You don't really, they don't like to rent out for 1 month in an apartment, so it just makes it easier. But
Nice. Well, I'm this is kind of a record for me. I'm gonna in the month of March, I will have visited and worked in 4 different states.
yeah, I'm trying to think. Other than I mean, of course, driving through states. I don't think I've ever, maybe two to three at tops. Probably more like 2 states in a month. So
It has definitely been a whirlwind, but I will be at the Big Easy this weekend. Unfortunately, it won't be for a, fun. It'll be sitting in a conference.
oh,
But I hope to get out and get some food and walk around a little bit.
get you some crawfish and stuff. So
Oh man, I just got some. I follow this Cajun crawfish on Twitter, and they're already posting up. Buying your crawfish now. It's that time of year, and I can't. My mouth's watering just thinking about eating crawfish right now.
yeah, so you should be able to get some of that in. But I was going to start off with a different scenario. Also, instead of would you rather, it's called what would you do in this situation. And I didn't tell you this ahead of time because I wanted your true reaction. Hopefully, you will give me an answer. So I guess a husband and wife, they had twins, right? And
Okay.
well, I guess the dad got a little suspicious, and he's like, "Hey, one of these kids look like me, but the other one does not." So he got a DNA test. One of them was legitimately him, and then the other twin was somebody else's baby. Um, from a
Is this
guy
a?
that she was messing around with.
Where did you come across this story, or are you just making this up?
No, I swear to God, this is a true story. It was actually on a podcast I listened to. So this really happened. So my question, so I'll tell you what the dad did first. He pretty much which I don't know the full story on what he did, but he wants nothing to do with the other child. My question is, what would you do in this situation?
Man, I'd like to think we we'd talk it out.
Well, yeah, you either work it out or you don't. But I mean, that's I don't even. They gave a certain percentage, and I don't know, or I mean, like 1 in 500 million or something, some crazy numbers like that of that actually happening. But I just thought, I mean, I've never heard of it happening before, but they have a name for it, so clearly it has happened before. I just thought it was a good situation.
So, I mean, if things worked out with your spouse and you managed to patch things up when you were living together, well, part-time, that other child would be with you.
Yeah, and I mean,
from infant. So, you'd think I'd treat it,
I look at it as having a step kid that is exactly the same age as your daughter or son.
Right.
Who happens to also be half brothers with them. Kind of weird.
Right. But, if things doesn't work out between, the spouse.
I guess you can't fight for custody of the other kid if you
would.
wanted to. I mean, biologically, it's not yours. It's just a weird situation.
Well, that whole gets onto the legal side too, because if it takes your name,
yeah,
there's a whole legal battle on that. I don't know. That would be a sticky situation, and could get pretty ugly, especially in the courts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I like how, well, I wanted to preface this. This is how I brought this up. I was like, I have you, what would you do? But it's in infidelity. And I felt like you were a little nervous on that question. You're like, well, I'm not going to talk about that at all.
No, that never comes across my mind. And
I know, but you weren't probably thinking of this situation though. So that's why I wanted your true, honest to God opinion.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah. I guess it is. I haven't actually looked up the news story, but it was on one of the podcasts I listen to every day, so I'm sure you'll hear it eventually. It was a pretty good one, but anyways, what else you got going on?
Well, one thing is the CrossFit Open. It finally finished up. The 5 weeks are over. I'm anxiously waiting to see who made the top 20, who could go into the games. Still hoping that I can work out to actually go to the games this year.
Yeah, you travel too much nowadays, so it's probably not going to happen. I don't want to break your spirits and stuff, but what do you think about that last workout? That is what you would call not in Pummel's warehouse or wheelhouse. I hate thrusters.
Oh my God.
What is
thrusters are miserable.
105 movements per. So it was like you start at 27 31. I don't know. It was like 31, 27, 21, 15, 9 of thrusters, 95 pounds, and chest to bar pull-ups. You know how many chest to bar pull-ups I've done in my entire life? One. I did it last open, and it took me forever. I feel, and it's not because I couldn't get up that high. It's like a mobility issue for me.
Well, thrusters, wall balls are up there for me it's a movement that everyone can do, but it's also a movement that will put you in your place really quick.
Oh, yeah. Your legs start burning. You start breathing heavy.
Your arms burning. You're heavy. You're trying to move through and you're thinking it's only 95 pounds, but oh man, they're just horrible.
Yeah, well, the thrusters are even worse, I think, because you almost have to lean. You have that tendency to lean forward. Mm-hmm. So, it's but I don't know. I like the workout.
I do too. I think it's a typical, the 5 part of the CrossFit. It's 19, 1, 2, 3, and originally, the trend is as you go along, they get a little bit more difficult and a little bit more painful and a little bit more technical. Granted, I think it is technical because of the chest to bar pull-ups. There's definitely a technique for that. It's not just getting your chin over. The thrusters is just, put in the work. That's it.
And 95's not heavy per se. It's just
No, it's not. That's the crappy thing. You think, oh, it's only 95 pounds, but then you get into the 10th rep and you're like,
I think it's a
oh
little bit.
crap.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the whole body movement, such as burpees too. I mean that incorporates your whole body.
Yeah.
So it's just
There's
rough.
there's no break. You're constantly under tension, and you move too fast in that where you can't sustain. It gets hard. You put that bar down, and then you got to pick it back up, and then it's an additional movement, and then next thing you know, you're doing sets of one, and
Yeah.
it's horrible.
I remember I was doing an open one time or a workout. Actually, it was a workout. It wasn't an open. And I had this guy and I hate when people do this. And he started counting down every time I dropped the bar. And he's like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I had to pick up the bar again. I was like, stop counting. Like, I want to rest. I
Yeah.
hate thrusters. They are not my friend.
Yeah.
But
You have to. It's like kind of like burpees. You have to do a bunch of them before you start getting comfortable with them.
yeah.
But no, I'm super excited to look for that top 20s going to the games. I was looking at some of the names, and I guess I didn't understand that the top 20 would be going to the games.
Yeah. Top 20. So actually, the first cutoff is national champions. So if any of those in the top 20 are national champions, then the line keeps moving down. Or if they
Right.
decline or if they decline an invitation, it'll work better next year with the open being at the beginning of the year versus in the middle. But so the first feeder is the open, and then it goes to the sectionals. So even if the sectionals, like there's some sectionals before the open this year, the open itself is the first line. So they feed off the open, and then they go to the sectionals. And I think they said something like fifth place at Wadapalooza is going to the games, just because the other 4 people were national champions or top 20.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So it'll be interesting.
Yep. But today is what's today? March 28th. And before we started doing this, we were both kind of looking at some topics, and it just clicked. I knew what was going on, but it just clicked that today is opening season for baseball.
Yeah. And
I'd like to say I'm a huge Cardinal fan, but and I am, or a Royals fan. The only time I differentiate or who I like is when they play each other. So I'll root for them until they play each other. Then I'm going to root for the Cardinals.
well,
But
my wife doesn't like you then.
that's fine. That's fine. She bleeds blue. I get it. But so what's funny is 20 years ago, this would have been marked, and I would have been skipping class at college to watch the opening game. And this year, with as busy as I've been, I took a nap and didn't even think about the game. I can't watch it right now because I don't have cable. We only have streaming services, and right now I don't have a way to stream baseball. But it's just funny, a 20 years difference of where your priorities are. Like, there would have been 4 or 5 of us skipping class and had about 2 or 3 different TVs on watching 3 or 4 different games, and it would have been all day long. And now it's picking the kids up from practice, or they're on spring break and they're going here and going there, and you're just trying to keep up. And it's back then it was me, and now it's like, what's everyone else doing and where do I got to get them at?
Yeah.
I mean, what were you doing
Well,
20 years ago?
well, actually, today it's still me, but that's just my narcissistic tendencies. But 20 years ago, I don't know, hanging out, watching probably TV. I mean, I didn't really do like a lot. I was on back then. I remember there was dial-up internet, so that was always interesting. Yeah, I mean, you had to wait like 20 minutes for a picture. of
Well, let's put this in. So 20 years ago, I would have been 22 years old.
yeah, I was 14 years old. So there's I'm not going to go in depth.
You don't want to tell us what type of pictures you were trying to download?
Well, I was a 14-year-old kid. So if you read my book, once it comes out, you can probably figure out. So I'm just saying life was a lot rougher back with dial up.
Well, 20 years ago, I was a senior in college playing my last year of baseball. I had already pretty much gotten all the hard classes in. I think I was taking my senior year, I took golf and bowling because I needed some credits. Most of the classes I took, I was into, so that was easy. So I didn't have to do as much studying my senior year. So it was like, this is my last year to kind of do whatever I want, have as much fun as I wanted before I have to get a job and start thinking about a career. Now I have somewhat of a career. It takes me all over the place. I think I'm going more now than I was even when I was, running as a 22-year-old, but
yeah,
just less alcohol probably.
Well, I remember I think I was probably burning CDs from our I don't know if I'm sure you know of Napster.
Napster,
But
yeah.
Napster
Yeah.
was definitely a thing in my childhood. Now I realize how illegal that was. Um, but back then, it was a thing to do. So you could make your mixed CDs and you can burn them, especially if you were one of them cool people that had a CD burner.
Yeah.
And
Because they weren't built in. I don't know. Well, first of all, I didn't have a laptop back then.
no, I think I had
Uh,
I'm trying to think of what kind of computer. It was definitely like a Hewitt Packard or like a Dell, like an old school one. Was one
yeah,
of
which you had a monitor and the actual
yeah,
desktop,
the
and then
CPU.
and,
I'm
and
I'm I
keyboard and everything. It was far fetched from what we have now of laptops and
I had socket internet,
iPads, socket internet, and the
which
dial-up.
is
You'll hear the old
yeah,
noise.
which is actually like socket internet. The funny thing about that is it's still around today. So of course they have like high speed DSL and stuff like that, but I just thought it was funny that socket's still around today. I'm trying to think of what else we had going on. Yeah, I mean I wasn't driving yet, so I wasn't rolling around in the Ranger with a 3-inch lift kit and glass pack. That was a few years down the road. Listening to my Rough Riders anthem, blaring my 12-inch Pile speakers. So, yeah,
I think I
I
was still I was driving a not oh gosh, what was it? An 88 Jeep Cherokee. My dad hated it because Jeep back then used to put different parts from different years, and when stuff broke down, it was hard to match up.
yeah,
Oh, it was a big lemon,
yeah.
but
I
yeah,
grew up in the time if you spent more on your sound system than you did your vehicle, you were good to go. So,
that's all that mattered.
yeah,
And
like
I had an old S10, and I had tens behind the seat. This is a single cab S10, and I had set of tens behind the seat, and they ended up getting stolen out. It's the only thing that really had stolen out of my car was my amplifier and my speakers.
yeah,
And they had to have known who had seen my truck
yeah.
before, because no one would have thought that that was wedged in behind my seat. But
Well, I had a buddy that had a Fiero. I don't know if you remember those cars or not.
oh yeah,
And they weren't very big cars. And he was I don't know, he was over 6 foot tall, bright yellow Fiero. And I want to say he had like a 6 or an 8-inch subwoofer right in between the two seats because that was about the only place you could put it. And that thing was so loud. Like, it was like right next to you. You couldn't get away from it. But,
and probably if you think about it, it didn't sound that good because it
oh
would
no, it
rattle
sounded
everything in your
horrible.
car.
Yeah, you always had those license plate rattling and Yeah, I had like a makeshift speaker box with an amp. I don't know how many radios we went through because I used to install them, but I realized I don't know how to install radios. So that was always an interesting part of my younger years.
Well, mine wasn't installed. I could get it all installed, but back then you had to buy some kind of conversion to be able to fit the hole.
Yeah. Well,
And that part never quite looked quite right.
yeah, mine was good on that aspect. It was just like I would not tape up the wires and it would drop on something grounded and then blow the whole amp. I went through a few alternators. Um, I say my parents probably had to buy a few alternators. I knew I blew the heads on my motor a few times doing donuts out at Crossroads. So I was a little
Oh,
bit of a wild child in the old 91 Ranger. And it sounded like a pissed off sewing machine. So
we had a hill. It's on a gravel road, and it's like a blind hill. It's what we called Killer Hill.
yeah.
And if you went fast enough, you could get some air. And I'm not gonna say where that's at because my daughter's gonna be driving in a couple years. Not that she won't find it. I'll let her find it on her own. Hopefully, she never finds it. But yeah, we
Yeah.
would run up and down that thing all of the time because we could take a route to get into town that would put us over that hill. So we would hit it as hard as we could, or as as brave as we were.
Yeah, they
That
always
day.
did terrace jumping. I mean, we went out to had a bonfire out at some farm that I think we called it Gordon Farms, I think is what it was called. And they would just jump terraces out there. It's kind of stupid now thinking about it, but it was fun while it lasted. And then
Oh,
I don't know how many times I got my vehicle stuck mudding, like all the time. I just tore the crap out of that little truck.
yeah, man. It's funny if you think about it. What we were doing 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, to what we're doing now it's definitely different.
Yeah, I have kids. That's about the only difference. No.
Well, your priorities aren't jumping terraces and
No,
and
no,
putting
I
speakers in your
don't.
car now.
But I got a pretty car, so
Oh God, there. See,
it's
you're not a
pretty.
car guy. That's all I'm saying. You're not
I
a
am a
car
car
guy.
guy. I just
No.
don't. I just have a little bit more money than a Casey's income will actually pay you. So I have
Well,
a nicer car than a 91 Ranger. That's all.
you don't use very good jargon for being a car guy. I don't know many that we've had this conversation. No car guys call their cars pretty.
Yeah, they do. It's just like you asked one person and they said, no, I don't call it pretty. Well, guess what? Their car's probably not pretty. That's why they don't call it pretty. My
I,
car's pretty.
I don't want to say you
I'm
may have some sugar in your tank, but
look, it is an awesome car. So, end of subject. But other than that, what else you got going on?
well, I mean, speaking of 20 years ago, I was going through the same thing that you're going through right now, therapy.
Oh yeah.
Because I had a shoulder surgery. I gotta think about that when I try to say those two words together at the same time. And went through my senior year, from like August to October. I was doing physical therapy to try to get ready for the season. So I feel your pain. I know what you're going through, and you finally got to start that this week.
No, you don't feel my pain because you weren't waiting 3 weeks to do physical therapy. Okay.
I was
Me?
because I didn't have the opportunity. I had to wear my sling for a month straight. You had to wear
Yeah.
it for like 2 days.
No, I wore it for a month straight. That's what the
No,
doctor
you
said.
didn't.
I wore it for a month straight. That's all you
No,
need
you
to know.
didn't.
Either way, a month straight. So, yeah, I finally started physical therapy today. Actually, it's my same physical therapist from prior to surgery. So, that's a bad thing because she knows how I am. So, she pretty much walked in and she was like, all right, what have you been lifting? I was like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I don't lift anything at all. And then she was asking me all these questions and she's like, well, what hurts and stuff? And I was like, well, it kind of hurts when I do shrugs. She goes, "How does it feel without weight?" I was like, "What's the point of doing that without weight?" And she started laughing. You must have had been there. Never
Well,
mind. This is awkward.
how long do you have to go for therapy?
Well, the problem is I'm going to be out of state for a couple weeks in between therapy, so I'm scheduled for 6 weeks at least physical therapy, and then but I got like towards the end of April I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks on a work trip, so I guess that will postpone me till probably middle of May, give or take, roughly. And then from then, it like, they have to evaluate how far I've gone. I've definitely done some wrong things with my shoulder since having surgery. So
Yeah,
hopefully
I'm
it's
sure
not.
you have.
Well, we were playing a little game of keep away for my daughters. And I had a volleyball and I was dribbling it like a basketball. And I'm taller than them, amazingly. I know, at 5'7". And I threw it up into my left hand and I threw my left hand up to catch the ball. There's an issue. My left hand does not go up, or it shouldn't have went up. It did go up, and then next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground crying, almost in pain. So
You think you're gonna have to have surgery again?
no, it stopped throbbing after a good 2 hours. So we hopefully no long lasting damage. It's just I don't know. Maybe that's why you should stay in a sling, so that way it's not working.
And do what the doctors tell you to do?
I do what the doctors tell me to do. Either way, we are done with this line of investigation. But I did go fishing again. I did talk about it a little bit. I've decided that I'm going to retire from trout fishing.
Oh, so soon?
Yeah. Apparently, I only like trout fishing if I catch fish. I am a rather sore loser if I catch nothing. And let me tell you, Dwayne, I didn't even get a bite. That's how bad it was.
So you're all good when the fish are biting, but if they're not, it's not the part of fishing. You're just the catching. You don't like the whole fishing part. It's only if you're catching.
I thought I liked it still, because I finally got back into it once I bought a camper again. And I don't know, it's been probably 6 years since I really truly fished before that. I never really wanted to come down here when we had our other camper here. And my wife, I think she was excited that I was back into fishing. She really likes trout fishing. And I told her yesterday I'm retiring because I only like fishing when I catch it.
Well, it's that old saying, though, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work.
Not when you're a narcissist. You feel like you failed at life. Because you got all these little knuckleheads fishing right next to you, and they're catching fish. It was embarrassing.
So that's the part. It's not that you didn't catch fish, is that everyone around you was catching fish.
I wouldn't say
you weren't catching anything.
Everybody around me was catching fish. I mean, it was at the end of the day, it still wasn't a good day to go fishing. But yeah, there was a few people catching fish, and they looked like they had the IQ of -75. So,
well, obviously they have a better fishing IQ than you do.
Maybe they had a better pole, maybe a better lure. I don't know. It definitely wasn't. It wasn't because of my lack of skill set. I am quite the fisherman. I caught 2 lunkers, one on Women's Fishing Day. So.
Well, did you do the whole slide over a little bit closer to see what colors they were using?
No, I don't need help. I'm a fisherman in my own right. I think a little bit of it was I just wasn't getting the lure where I needed it to go because with trout fishing, lures are not very heavy and it was windy. And I lost about 3 bobbers. So.
Oh, you fish with bobbers?
Not all the time, but when it's like that, I kind of do. And I didn't go wading. I brought my waders, but I actually didn't go out wading, or otherwise I probably would have caught something because a lot of people don't fish up there where I normally fish. So.
And again, for the folks that are just now if you're a new listener, both of our campers are down near Bennett Springs State Park in Missouri, which is a big trout fishing area. Along with canoeing, it's on the Niagara River. So opening day started March 15th?
March 1st? No, it's March 1st. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first year in about 6 years that I haven't been able to get a line wet yet
Yeah, you were
down there.
supposed to go fishing this week, but
Yeah.
yet again, you chose not to.
I
So,
got to stop doing that.
yeah, you got to stop choosing your family and work over hanging out with me and going fishing. I thought
Well,
we
it's
have a
not so much
podcast.
my family. The work part I'm good with, but the family part, you know.
I mean, who's more important to you, your podcast partner or your family? Don't answer that. I don't want to know the answer. But either way, I think we got enough here for this episode. So I think we should wrap it up. Also, wanted to tell you our little road podcast competition.
Uh-huh.
We actually have a set of microphones, I guess, coming in. So I think they were supposed to be there yesterday. I didn't really check. Hopefully they get here before we move, and then we can do some legit on the road podcasting. Maybe even while we're driving or something.
Or sitting there fishing while I
Yeah.
kick your butt and you can't catch anything.
Look, I had one bad day. Okay, but I've already retired, so we will never find that out.
So you won't come out of retirement if I say, "Hey, let's go fishing."
I might come out of retirement.
That's what I thought.
But
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, leave us comments. We're on at the Geo Bachelors on Instagram or on Facebook. Our email address, Landon, what do you got?
the Geo Bachelors podcast at gmail.com. Other than
And that's
that,
it. That's
yeah.
a wrap. Number 28 in the books. I'll see if I can't bring you back some beads.
All right. Just don't be flashing nobody to get those beads. All right.
I think they sell them on the corner.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, out here.
Ready? Out.